All right, this is Tom Simmons with Success Unlimited Podcast. And with us today, we have Daniel Gomez. He's an award winning keynote speaker, business coach, executive coach, corporate trainer, and Podcast of the Year recipient. Uh, Welcome, Daniel. Thank you so much for your time and being on our show. Um, I would like for you to kind of kick things off and tell us about your background and tell us who you are.
Well, Tom, first of all, thank you for having me on this amazing show. I'm honored to be here with Success Unlimited and add value to your audience. And Daniel Gomez, who's Daniel Gomez Inspires? I changed my name along the way. When I first introduced myself, I was Daniel Gomez, and then when we hired this firm, they said, well, you need to put something else to your name. Call yourself Daniel Gomez Inspires. And I'm like, it didn't go well at first. This is what I would say, Tom. So that way you know the real me, right? I'm real and genuine. This is Daniel Gomez with Daniel Gomez Inspires. And I said that probably like for a month or so. I said, that doesn't sound right. So now I introduce myself. This is Daniel Gomez Inspires. And who's Daniel Gomez Inspires? I love people. I love helping people because as I travel around the world, Tom, and speak to thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, I've shared the stage live with Les Brown, Tom Bilyeu, John Maxwell, some other prominent, amazing speakers. And the truth is, I realize that most people, over 90% of people, undervalue themselves. So what I love to do most in my business through our speaking, through our coaching, through our training, through our books that we put out there is help people realize that they're more valuable than what they perceive themselves to be. And what I realize is most business owners, most leadership, they have the wrong concept of who they really are. So me and my organization, we help people to really untap that true potential that they have inside of them to realize that there's another level inside of them in life and there's another level inside of them in business. And I do it from a heartfelt place where, because a lot of the stuff that I teach, Tom, I've lived it, man. And I'm just a real guy. I've had money, I've had success, I've lost titles, I've lost positions. But the one thing I realized, no matter, even when we paid off our house, what was a big goal for me when I was younger,
Wow.
I realized that paying off my house made me lazy. So I've learned from who and what I went through.
Right.
And when I say who, right, because in different seasons I'm a different Daniel. And now on this side of the tipping point, I'm like stronger, better, wiser. But I realize that I'm more compassionate now because people need to understand that there's good people out there. So
That's,
that's who I am.
that's so true. So, what is when you say people have a wrong concept of who they are? What do you mean by that? So, there's got to be something more to that. You're talking about their personality, how they're perceived.
Well, what's the concept you have of yourself? I think everybody should write that question down right now, right? Write that question down. What is the concept you have of yourself? And many times in life, what happens is there was a time in our life where we wish we could take that moment back,
Hmm.
and maybe we can't. Many times we can't. I've had that moment, and the problem is when you go back to that moment, is that mistake, that failure. We believe that that failure and that mistake is bigger than what we deserve. And because we believe that that failure and that mistake, it defines the concept of how we see ourselves and who we are. And in return, it blocks all that future business, all that future next level of success because we don't believe we deserve it, because we believe that greater was a mistake and greater was a failure. So in return, the self concept we have of ourselves is not reality. It's based on the failure, the mistake that we went through. And everybody has them.
It's like you got to have a short-term memory when it comes to failures. Learn from them, but don't dwell on them. Learn it, absorb it, take the lessons, move past them. And really, the biggest challenge that I think a lot of people, maybe this is one way to sum it up.
That,
And
that,
correct
that,
me
that-
if
see,
I'm
see,
wrong.
so I want to go deeper on that though.
Yeah.
That's true to what you're saying, but what do you do for someone who's gone through a divorce? You can't just move on like that.
No, no,
I, I, I'm just being honest, right?
no. That's a long term. That's a life changing event.
Or like my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. It just didn't go away in a year. I mean,
Right.
so what you're saying, we say that quickly because we want to, yeah, let's go business. No, no, no. That's the mistake we make because we don't go deeper. In business, you got to start going deeper to go higher. And I've coached so many executive business owners that are millionaires, multimillionaires, and the problem is they've gone so high in success, but they never really took the time to go deeper into what is at the core of what's there that's clogged up. What is causing me to feel this way? Why do I need Daniel? I asked this one guy one time, I said, man, why did you hire me? And I because I wanted to know. I was like, and
Right.
you have the mansion, you have the car that I don't have, the Lamborghini. Like, why did you hire me? I mean, I
Right.
wanted to know. He goes, I don't know, man. You have something that I need, and I've been watching you. And it turned out to be a spiritual element of a deeper understanding of just a lot of unforgiveness. There's so many men out there that have unforgiveness towards themselves, that they carry the shame, they carry the guilt, they carry the regret. And there's women out there too. I lean more on the men's side as far as when we deal with that type of coaching, but it's a
Right.
reality that many men never face, and they wonder why they're drinking alcohol. They wonder why they're having affairs. Women too. They wonder why they're spending all this money on shopping sprees because they're trying to fill that void, that
Right.
shame, and they never go to the root cause of it. And it happens more in business than you realize. That's what really you made a true stat, right? Within 5 years, 90% of businesses that start are out of business. Why?
Right.
Because they never go deeper, Tom.
I think there's got to be an alignment of this, maybe a bit cliche-ish, but God, family, self. And there are certain values that everybody has for their business, but I think a lot of folks fall short of defining their personal values and their family as the leadership values that they values that they provide to their family. Um, and so, is that kind of what you do to help folks through and identify the challenges that they face, identify some of the failures that they faced, and how to dig inwardly and bring that stuff up the surface so they can properly process it?
So when I do my executive coaching, I do a lot of that one on one, because really executive coaching is just life coaching with a higher title, right? If you want to be honest with it. And a lot of executives, they don't have anybody to talk to. So think about it, all day, every day. We'll just say you've been at the high level executive for 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years. So for 10 years, you've suppressed those emotions.
Right.
You swept them under the carpet, like I talk about in my book, right? You sweep it under the carpet and you never deal with it. And we think, oh, it's gonna go away, right? It's gonna float away. Well, what happens is it doesn't. Think about a drain. You know, you and I are both married. Think about our wife. We love our wives, but
Right.
sooner or later, that drain in that shower gets clogged up. Why? Because weeks and weeks and weeks of their hair going into the clog is going to clog up sooner or later. And
Right.
that's exactly what happens with a lot of human beings' emotions when they're in those levels, men and women, that they don't have that, they don't have a release valve. So they suppress this because, right? Hey, if you're the CEO or if you're the CFO, who can I trust? Who can I talk to? There's no outlet because you don't want to talk to your employees because that's the worst thing you could do. So now you're harboring all these things inside of you, and it's not healthy. So that's
So true.
there's so many aspects that I go in and do coaching, but when that's top level executive, it's really just sometimes they just need an outlet and a soundboard, and sometimes I give them ideas. Right, I'm an award winning business coach. I understand business. I've had 100 employees myself. I know what it's like to be on the under the gun, having a brick and mortar. Right, I think it, it appalls me sometimes how when you listen to some of these people that are business owners, and I'm like, you don't have any problems. Like your business it's a business, but your business is online, or you don't even, when you have a brick and mortar, a real business, and you got to answer or be responsible for 100 employees. Like now you're talking about, oh crap, like stuff got real. A lot of these stuff, oh man, my funnel's not working, or this is like, that's minute, right? What are you doing when sales are down and you got to feed your employees, right? You got to
For
feed
all
them.
their families.
You got to feed them hours because they need hours. You can't just, hey guys, it doesn't work that way.
No.
So I've lived through all that. So what I love to do is really just when I walk into any business or I work with any organization, it's I always do an assessment up front, and there has to be an assessment because if you walk in there not doing the assessment, you have no idea what's going on, what do you need to fix, and what's the new result they want. And I think so many young coaches who say they're coaches, right? 17 on Instagram, I'm a coach. They've never had the experience. If you've never lived through what you're going through, what you're coaching on, I think it hinders you. I mean, it's something that I really enjoy because I love people, but I never realized how much people, like going back to my beginning, that people undervalue themselves and are just never dealt with the deeper stuffs, Tom.
So you brought up your book. I want to get into that, but I also want to touch on something different. Most entrepreneurs, when it comes to relationships, usually you don't have a couple starting a business. Usually it's one spouse or the other, right?
Yes.
And that becomes their pursuit of passion and their reasons. Their heart might be right. I'm going to go provide for the family. I'm going to go and work to pursue a passion. That passion becomes a job. They're working, there's a saying that entrepreneurs are the only people that work 80 hours to avoid working 40. And 80 hours is a good week for most entrepreneurs. But there's a element in the relationship between the spouses, that one spouse, when they're giving all their energy, their time, their attention to the new business or their business, the spouse feels left out. And in some cases, they go through the same emotional effects of if their spouse was having an affair. There's a book that my wife and I read together. It's For Better or For Work by Meg. I can't remember her last name, but he brought up the book and it touched on the spouse and relationships and business, and it just made me think of that. But you also wrote a book, and it was what is the title of your book? Is it The Makings of a Millionaire Mind?
Yeah, the makings of a millionaire mind. But I want to answer your question though. Uh, it's easy. It's easy when you're intentional, right? In my book, I talk about being intentional a lot
Yeah.
because you have to be intentional in life and businesses. You can't be $1 million business owner, right? You can't be a $1 million business owner, a 7-figure business owner, and be a 5-figure husband or wife. And what you're
I like
saying,
that. That's good.
that's the problem with what you just said.
Right.
They want a 7-figure business. Maybe they have a 7-figure business, but they're a 5-figure husband or wife.
So,
And one thing that I've learned is you can't come home and vomit all over your husband, vomit all over your wife.
right.
And that's what most people do, because I can say that because in sales, it's that's what many young, inexperienced sales professionals, or not even sales professionals, because sales professionals can handle themselves better. Salespeople, they go home and they throw up all over themselves and their family, and they wonder why their wife or their husband doesn't support them. And when my son called me last February, he goes, "Dad, I don't want to be a teacher anymore." I was like, "Okay." He goes, "What do you think?" And I told him, "It's not my decision to make, son." I said, "It's your decision to make."
Right.
And he tried to put it on me. I said, "I'm not going to make that decision." He goes, "Great.
Smart.
I'm not going to be a teacher." I said, "Final answer." 2 days later, he goes, "Yes, Dad. I made my decision." I go, "Son, I don't care whatever you do. Just walk the stage and get your degree, because half the people that have a degree, they don't even use it." So that was the agreement we had. So then I asked him, I said, "So why do you want to, what happened? Like you wanted to be a band director. You've been in band. You've been doing this." He goes, "Well, I just see the success you and mom have, and making
Mm.
50, $60,000 a year is not going to do that." But this is the main thing that really surprised me. He goes, "I think I want to go sell cars, Dad." I was like, "What?" Like, that's
One
what I
side to
did.
the other.
That's what I did for 20 years. I was in the car business for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
But I never went home and I never said the car business sucks. F the
Right.
car business. I always went home and said the Corvette we have is because of the car business. The fact that we're in Hawaii is because of the car business.
Right.
The life that we live is because of the car business. So his association with sales was everything that we've done as a family has been successful because of the car business. So
Right.
his association to sales was sales is good.
Right.
But the problem we have with going back to what the original statement you made was, when we start business, we go through the growth spurt that everybody's going to go through the fire as soon as you start. I mean, I don't care who you are, you're going to be tested. And as
Yeah.
you're being tested, now we take that frustration out on our husband, on our wife, and then we still expect them to support our business. It doesn't work that way, right? You
Nope.
you can't treat your potential. I can't treat, if you're a potential prospect, Tom, I can't treat you better than I treat my wife. I get home and I'm yelling at her and she's like, "What did I do?" But it's the frustration that the business isn't going the way you want it. And
Right.
that's the problem with so many young aspiring entrepreneurs and even current ones that have been in business for 3 to 4 years. I've seen it because they take all that home and then they wonder why their husband or wife doesn't want to celebrate them in business.
So true. You touched on a topic we could probably spend hours and hours unpacking. Um, I can't tell you how many people I know in business that it has strained the relationship to the point of breaking, and it has broken a lot of marriages. But I have a saying, my 11-year-old son and 7-year-old is probably tired of now. What your mouth speaks, your ears hear, and your mind believes. What you put out there and what you listen to, who you surround yourself with, makes all the difference. Um, and it's so true, but it's tough for a business owner or anyone who is a high level performing at a very high level in their career to consistently do. So, how does somebody that is pursuing a career, a job, a business, how do they attain that level of success where they can successfully give 100?
You need a coach. I mean, I don't care who you are. You need a coach. You need a mentor, and I'm not saying a free mentor. You need someone who can really guide you and people say this all the time. You got to hire somebody to where you're going. I agree that, right? And in certain aspects, it's true. But
Right.
I was at an event with this young guy, real arrogant guy, was well, and he was basing off, and his coach told him this, which is a total BS, right? Well, I'm making 650,000 a year, and you're not. So what are you going to teach me? And it's like, right? And that was his, but he that became his belief system. And then he went up, his revenue grew up, and they hit a million and plus.
Hmm.
But 2 years later, they're gone because of that belief system. Because just because you're succeeding monetarily, there's other pillars in your life that you're failing at miserably. And he couldn't see that. And he didn't want to see that.
Right.
And I share that with you because you need a coach. And even though I reach a certain level of success, even right now, I just signed up with I've been working with my coach for the past 6 months now. And you know what? I need you for 2024 because I
Right.
need that. Because what this is a mistake that we fight so hard to get maybe your goal, whoever you're at listening to this amazing episode with Tom and his amazing podcast is we strive to get to the first six figures. We strive to get to a quarter million. We strive to get to 500,000. And then we finally hit six figures, which most businesses never hit, right? They never hit a million. I think it's a true fact. 93% of entrepreneurs, 93% never hit $50,000 a year in revenue. True fact. Think about that.
Oh my gosh.
93% never hit
That's an
50,000.
amazing stat.
And then there's another I can't think of the exact stat, but most never even come close. I think it's like the top 2 or 3%. Don't quote me on this one because I don't want to lie to you, but like the hit $1 million in revenue. Most never even come close to that. So you're doing this, and then when you hit, I never forget the first time I had a quarter million in a bank account. I got lazy. And I remember my coach at the time said, "What do you like? It's great to
Your
celebrate the
goal.
win,
Yeah.
but this is the thing that people don't realize. This is why you need to get my book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind, is because we all have a financial set point.
Right.
And once you reach that financial set point, if your financial set point,
Hmm.
we'll just say is $75,000, right? You left corporate America, your job as a senior executive, you were making 75,000 or as a manager. Now you made a quarter million. Now your mind is telling you you've made 3 times as much money as you did the last 10 years in 1 year. Go on cruise control. And that's where the self-sabotage kicks in and people don't even realize it, Tom.
So you got to be careful of who you're comparing yourself to. That's so. I want to go back to something you said. You said the pillars or the foundation. What are some the main pillars that folks need to have in their life to have a good foundation?
Well, we teach like what so when you come to our makings of a millionaire mind boot camp, we really talk about the 6 pillars of life and business, right? And it's one pillar is business, one pillar is finances, because it's two different things, right? You can have the wrong money mindset and your business is gonna suck. And I see that all the time, right? So you have a business pillar, you have a money pillar, right? Your finance pillar, you have your health pillar, because I think health is very important. You have your relational pillar, and then you have your intellectual pillar, and then you have your faith pillar, your God pillar. And those are the six pillars that you need to be working on all of them, right? Because you can have the faith, right? I know some people that are so spiritual, and I can say this because I'm a Christian, but they're too Christian, right? They expect God to do everything. It's like, no, you got to go out there, you got to till the land yourself. Sorry,
That's right.
buddy,
As
right?
the Bible says, without faith, without actions, let's see.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
but and then you got people that have the faith part and they're doing well in revenue, but they're so miserable because they weigh 400 pounds and they're not in shape, or they just
Right.
they're right. They're just the sex life isn't there because that sex is part, right? I mean, I'm being honest, right? We're talking
No,
about
you're being real. I appreciate that. Yeah. Good.
right. So you're not as attractive to your spouse was, so that's missing out of that. Or your relationships, right? You have a seven-figure business. You're a seven-figure businessman, but you're a five-figure dad, and you lost relationship with your kids. And I'm guilty of that, right? I mean, not guilty of that, but that's something that I experienced myself in. It's
Right.
not a good thing.
It's
So
not.
there, so you got, and then the intellectual part, right? So many people have the potential to write a book, and when we started our book publishing division of DG Publishing in 2021, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it because I didn't know, right? I knew, but I didn't know. And when this lady said, "Hey, Daniel, I want you to do my book," I said, "No, you're going to work with my publisher." She goes, "No, I want you to do it. If not, I ain't going to do it." She said, "God told me to work with you," but God was probing her to push me. And we did the first one. I was scared as crap. It came out amazing. Never look back. Now we've done over 50 book titles, and we're growing. We have some of the best. Um, just our team is so powerful. We do amazing work, and then the thing is that every pillar needs to be fed. Every pillar needs to be taken care of. And most people don't think that they have right. I never thought I would have wrote in a book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. When this one's going to launch next January here in a couple of
Sales accelerator.
I was Accelerator. That's gonna right. That's a sequel to The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. But I would have never thought I'm going to be writing all these. I didn't want to write all these books.
Right.
And when I wrote my first book, I say that's it. I'm done. And then God says, no, do you have other people need what you have? And then when you realize, like, wow, like I bring value, that you have every one of us has six pillars that we can create something with. And maybe maybe you're not a business person, so maybe that pillar would be a career pillar for you, but we all have something with inside of us.
So, do you co-author the books, or how do you come up when you say how many books do you have you published? And when you say a book publishing division, what is that?
Well, yeah, so we do book publishing. So here's one of our top authors, Ed Roberts. We just launched his book here a couple of months ago, right? 5,000 pre-orders. And that's our publishing house, DG Publishing. We do that.
Awesome.
So we do the interior, we do the exterior, we do everything for you. And
Formatting.
here's another one that we did for a pastor here out of Texas. Wanted to share his story. And there's our logo right there, DG Publishing. And when I say we do the interior design, let me show you kind of what we do. This was a very successful multimillionaire out of Scottsdale area, leaving a legacy, Jeff Levine. His book was amazing, but he had to publish, but the work they did was crap. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I said, Jeff, rule number one in book publishing, your book cover is your window display to the
Yep.
world.
Yep.
So if your book cover stinks, ain't nobody gonna buy your book.
Right.
We did the book cover, and then he likes right. He's a big subconscious guy, and he just right. So we put us. You know what? Why do we put a little brain on every single? We did that for him. He loved it. So we do the interior design, and we really take the interior design to the next level, and
Awesome.
really help our. So we do. We have our book publishing division where we do is we're full blown. We do book cover, copy editing, interior design, ISBN, everything, and we do the Kindle paperback, and of course now we do the hard copy. So we do everything, and the thing is, I love it because it brings out the. I'm the one that comes out with the right. I help you get your title. I help you create your table of contents. And I never realized that I have a creativity for that because I never tapped into it before 2021, really. I did it in other ways, but God says, you know how to do this. And I'll end with this one because this one's right.
Oh,
The
right.
lantern represents Jesus, God, because the word of God says, let your lamp be a light to my feet.
Correct.
Will's son committed suicide.
Oh man.
So when he
Sorry.
wrote a book, we put a lantern in every chapter just to kind of let them know that God was with them in every chapter.
That's awesome. What is the? You also had an international best-selling book. What book was that?
So You Were Born to Fly was the first one that came out, and
Okay.
this one sold worldwide. I mean, I still sell this book all over the place. I still sell it. I mean, it's still. I mean, people love it. It was our first book, and but it has a lot of value. And this is the book that got me training the United States Air Force. So I hold it dear to my heart because I almost right. So many times, what happens in business, ladies and gentlemen, is you get an idea and you start a journey. And I'm being totally honest with your audience, is that you believe it in the beginning, but then once you start the process, imposter syndrome sets in. And you'd be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you out there have a book in you or have a next level of business, but imposter syndrome sets in. I almost didn't do this book, Tom, because I started fighting with my original publisher. I started fighting with them, and he goes, "I'm not going to let you quit because
Hmm.
I didn't see myself as an author deep down, right? I wasn't embodying the identity." But You Were Born to Fly is a book on self leadership and personal development. So when someone from the United States Air Force read it, that opened my door to train them, and that was my catapulting that God used to get me to where that next level of business at the time. And I never looked back. So imagine that I would have if I would have never written that book, I would have never trained in the United States Air Force.
My goodness. And then I see behind you, Sticker Shock International Speaking Academy. Uh,
Yes.
you speak from stages and alongside some household names. Uh, so, what exactly is Sticker Shock Speaking Academy?
So when you come to the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy, we help you build a speaking business. Tom, so many aspiring speakers have a story they need to share. They have the idea, but the problem is they approach it, they just want to be a speaker. And that's why many of them fail. And when you
Hmm.
come to Sticker Shock, we give you the blueprint from A to B of how to build a speaking business, not just be a speaker. So it's a different approach. We record you, right? My big break came when I spoke at the United States Air Force, like I said. But the main thing I said, what was it about that video? It was a stage. They had an auditorium, right? I was on an actual stage, and I had spoken on hotel carpets for many, many times, but it didn't have the same effect. So when an event planner sees you speaking at a right on the floor to say, it doesn't impress them. But when they see you on a stage, like when you come to Sticker Shock, we've invested thousands in our stage. We record you. We give you a professional raw footage speaker row of you. We give you optics, right? All the B-roll you want on stage, optics with the red carpet. All this is tangible. And then we give you video testimonials. But the main thing is we show you where to apply for these opportunities. How do I negotiate my honorarium? What does the speaker contract look like? We give you a speaking application that way you know how to apply to these. So we really give you all the X's and O's, all the tangible and intangible wisdom that you need to build a speaking business. And a great example of that, we had Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard came, had gone to the NSA conference, and he learned a lot. He goes, "I'm not going to go, Daniel. I'm good." His publisher said, "No, you're going to go see Daniel." He said, "I learned more at Sticker Shock, Daniel, than I did at that conference because you showed me how to build my business." Right?
That's
Because
adding value.
yeah,
That's value add that someone else said validates what you're doing. You can't buy that.
yeah. And the thing is this is that since he left from September to September, he made over $75,000 part-time speaking as a full-time school administrator. And those are the success stories that it's just incredible.
So do your so the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy. Do you teach them how to how to speak, what to say, give them format? Do you coach them in the speaking, or is that a skill set they already have to have in the topics, and or do you kind of pull that out? How does that work?
We do both. So great question, right? So we do both. So our 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 audience, right? The attendees that come to Sticker Shock, our clients, they can be beginners, advanced, or intermediates, and they all learn because what happens is you come in. A great example. We coach a lot of Toastmasters because Toastmasters know how to speak, but they don't know how to monetize their story. They're not making any money.
Right.
So one of our staff members was a client, and he's learned so much that he goes, "I want to help you because Toastmasters needs this." So we actually have a DTM on staff. That was a great example. Do you think about that? A DTM, and for those that don't know, distinguished Toastmaster, highest level out there. They didn't know how to monetize himself, and we were able to help him with that. He believed in the
Wow.
concept so much that now he's part of our team that teaches. And then we take people that don't know anything, and we teach them the roadblocks from beginner. And so we work with everyone. And the main thing is this: is when you come to Sticker Shock, it's really the experience that you get, because we have the content is this is that we're always I believe I'm always growing, right? Like I said, I'm investing in the coach all the time for myself. So my whole concept, my whole perception is always changing. And people come back 2 or 3 times. We have to come back 5 times, and they're like, it just it's good. I learn every time I come, and those are
Wow.
the people that are growing. So our next Sticker Shock Speaking Academy is March 8th and 9th. We'd love to have you here in San Antonio. We give you a professional speaker role. The speaker role is worth 3,000 itself. That's included with your package, with your platinum package. And then the beautiful thing about it is a lot of people that come, they have amazing podcasts like Success Unlimited. So you cross pollinate and your brand just grows and explodes, because now you're surrounded by speakers, and many of them have a book, have a podcast. So it just, the relationships that have formed have produced hundreds of thousands of revenues for our attendees. And it's
Wow.
because it's the people that you want to be around.
That's an amazing between the book publishing because on the one side, a lot of folks, one of the ways you can monetize speaking in business is one is the speaking fee, but when you're speaking, you also need something to sell, which where the book comes in. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that something you teach in the academy?
Well, actually, that's part of our book. So a great example.
Okay.
Let me show you. So with Robert's book, Ed Roberts' book. So really, we call it B squared, right? Book to business.
E
So,
squared. Okay.
so when we wrote his book, we wrote it with the intention of him being a speaker and a coach. So I help you with the concept. So in return, this is going to turn into his coaching business, which is B squared, right? So we guide you through that. We show you how to turn this book into a workbook, because
Hmm.
the content's already there. And it's
Right.
amazing when you do that. So a great example is Rachel Best, How to Leave Your Mark on the World. Her book was a book that came out. We wrote it with the intention of that being her coaching. It turned into that. Then she said, you know what, I'm going to take it a step further. We launched her podcast last year, and now she's getting the audience that she wants, but also
Hmm.
potential clients and people that she can work with.
Wow, that is awesome.
So we call it B squared, right? Book to business.
So I want to go back to change the topic a little bit on you, and the Success Unlimited really revolves around learning about your journey, which we've done. I want to touch on how do you define your success and how do you achieved it?
Well, that's easy, man. It's just my family. That's a no brainer. Like, I've lived it where I had the Rolexes and the Corvettes, and without God in my family, and it's fun for a while, but after the fun wears off, like, you feel empty and void. And I can tell you, when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017, it was a second coming of come to Jesus, right? Like, you either get it or you don't get it, Daniel. And for me, it's like,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't say this bragging, but I don't work 70 hours a week. I don't work 80 hours a week. I don't work 60 hours a week, because God is my provider. God is my source.
Right.
And
Oh,
there's
well.
there's a saying that I live by, that one touch of God's favor is worth more time than a lifetime of labor. What does that look like, right? Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. One touch of God's favor is worth more than your lifetime of labor. So
Yep.
for me, I've given permission
So
to
good.
God. I've given permission to God. Not that I gave him permission in the root sense, but I said, God, this is my plan. You have permission to overlay your plan over my plan to interrupt my day.
Yep.
And every time that happens, I've learned not to get frustrated or upset. And because of my obedience, and we'll just say Tom needs prayer today. I don't know. And I end up spending an hour with Tom because I rearranged my schedule. I didn't take that sales call, right? I ignored that sales call. I said, you know what? I got to take care of this other thing, whatever it may be, that appointment. Out
Hmm.
of the blue, somebody calls me, says, Daniel, I spoke to you a year ago. I don't even remember the people. I'm ready to do that book. They pay 9,000 cash, but it comes out of obedience.
Right.
So instead of me chasing the success, I attract the success because I am the opportunity.
Right. And I think that when you go through life and you have God's favor on your life, you also have to be willing to put everything you're working on, be sensitive to His Spirit, listen to Him, and focus on that. And a lot of folks, they get so busy doing the thing that they don't leave time for that.
And
So
I'm gonna give you a $1 million hack, I can guarantee most people won't do it. I ingrained this in my clients because I have to tell them 1,000 times. But I said, but this is what I do. And Tom is, I say, okay, Holy Spirit, what do I need to call today? I don't need 1,000 leads coming in. I don't need 100 leads coming in. I don't even. If you were to ask me, you would ask me, Daniel, how many leads do you get per day, per month? What's your closing ratio? I don't know. I really don't know. But I know that when somebody calls me, my closing ratio is over 50 to 60% because it's a divine appointment by God. And I don't need 100 leads, right? I don't need to get 100 leads to close 5.
right,
But we're producing the revenue that most people only dream of because it's
yeah,
God's business. And as long as I'm obedient, it happens.
that's awesome. What are and last I guess last question. I like asking this question because it really gives. So, if you could take one person to dinner, either from the past or in the present, who would that be, and what would you talk about?
My mom. I would take my mom. I was 10 when my mom died.
Oh,
And I remember when I was a kid, we went to the airport. My grandpa flew her to Oral Roberts to pray for her. And she always worried about me. And I would tell her, Mom, God heard your prayers. God heard your prayers. You took care of me. Aside from my selfishness, from my own stupidity, every hole I put myself in, God took me out. So God heard your prayers, Mom.
wow! It's I can tell you that I come from a long line of folk. I guess Christians. My great grandmother in Lone Oak, Arkansas, she wore a two holes in the floorboards from spending time in prayer. And she had a Syracuse china, which was a maker of fine china, a mug that she had from Syracuse, New York. She used to pray that God send somebody to Syracuse and minister to the people, and she would turn that coffee cup over. Well, she prayed that. Those were one of her favorite mugs, and she prayed that almost daily for years. Well, many years later, I think it was probably 81, 82, 1981, 1982. My grandfather went to Syracuse, New York, and started a church. The church is still there, thriving today. And it's just and so there is a power to prayer. And my mom has spent God knows how many hours praying for me. I, I stressed her out probably more than any other of my siblings.
It's
But
just,
I can't. I really appreciate you just being raw and being real. That is so touching.
as a kid, when you lose your mom, she died of breast cancer. She was 37 years old, 37.
That's so young.
And
Goodness.
I remember I had so much anger, like, right? How come I don't have a mom? Or, you just go through life and it's just, it is what it is. But I wouldn't change what I've been through because that made me who I am today. And, you know, but I know that God heard her prayers and God's hand has been
You
over
sure
my
did.
life. But
And I have to say that I love the fact you weave your faith through through your podcast, through your academy, through your book publishing company, and just it's part of who you are. And I can't say I appreciate that enough. So thank you for being that light.
well, you're welcome, Tom. And
So
what a great time here with you today, man. I just,
it's been awesome.
And I would like to. We have some affirmations that we send out or quotes. And if your audience, you want to text the word millionaire, that's the word millionaire to 210-942-5059. That's 210-942-5059. Text the word millionaire, and you'll get on our quote text that we send out and millionaire affirmations. And I would love to send you a PDF with our millionaire affirmations on there. I'll do that for your audience. And I've been
What is that number again? You said 210
210-942-5059.
50
59 59 50 59.
5059.
And it's the word millionaire. And they'll get on our text list.
Is that right?
That's it. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they'll get inspirational quotes, millionaire hack quotes, and millionaire affirmations. And
Awesome.
it's just it's all about giving back, man. And it's just
Yeah.
one thing that like I said, not that like and I want your audience to understand this. It's not that I don't work. I mean, but definitely when it's crunch time, sometimes I'll stay up till 8 or 9, or we got a deadline. You do
Right.
what you got to do. But there's an ease that comes because the scripture that comes to mind is right. The wealth of the Lord has no sorrow.
Hmm.
And when you walk in the wealth of the Lord, and everything else just kind of falls in place, and you don't have to kill yourself. And do I get stressed out sometimes? Yeah, I do. When we have I mean, it's stuff happens, right? I mean, it's the world. You can't help it. But it's a lot easier knowing that God is with you, taking care of his business. And I don't worry about a lot of things that I used to worry about.
That's awesome. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for your time, sir. We'll have to have you back soon.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, brother. And please, I want to encourage your audience, go get a copy of our book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. It's on Amazon. It's on Audible. People love the Audible because we did a little hack on Audible. So go out there, get your copy. I guarantee you it's going to transform your life. And follow me on social media, Daniel Gomez Inspires. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and then on LinkedIn. So, Tom, thank you so
Awesome.
much, brother. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Thank you.